Future makers, world changers. This is the topic that all of us here base our presentations on. In my case, I have chosen a topic that involves altering human nature, and of course, changing the world. Hello everyone, I'm Alejandra. I hope you're enjoying yourselves today, and if you have guessed correctly, my topic for this presentation is genetic modification. Now, first of all, let me ask you all a question. What are we going to grow up to be? What percentage of the people that are in this room right now will go into law, education, politics, or the scientific field? Well, statistically, all of those are in this room right now. So if you think genetic modification has nothing to do with you, you could not be more wrong. Now, I don't expect all of you to know what genetic modification is. So let me explain it real quick. Because most people believe GM is just altering a physical aspect of our bodies. Like, for example, I'm part of the approximately 67% of the population that has brown eyes. And I can say with almost certainty that each and every person of that 67% has imagined themselves having blue eyes. But this is not all that GM is about. In fact, genetic modification is actually a technology which involves inserting DNA into the genome of an organism. Or in more simple words, GM is just a process by which the genes of a living thing are modified. So now we all know that genetic modification alters the genome of an organism. But what is this so-called genome? Well, let me start by saying that each and every person in the world has a unique genome, which is the total sequence of DNA an organism is composed of. A genome is composed of more than 30 trillion cells, and these cells have DNA inside their nucleuses. Also inside their nucleuses, we have nucleotides. And finally, these nucleotides are composed of a nitrogenous base, a phosphate group, and a penthouse. Now, by seeing this, you can imagine how difficult it would be to alter just one specific DNA sequence of our whole bodies. But of course, the human species is the most intelligent in the world, right? So we would surely find a way to modify one single nucleotide inside the DNA, inside the nucleus, inside the cell, inside the more than 30 trillion cells our bodies are composed of. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Anyone could do it. But us, humans, did. And the most important ingredient for this recipe was research. Only a few years ago, Jennifer Doudna and her colleague Emmanuel Charpentier invented the CRISPR-Cas9 technology. Careful now, CRISPR ends on an R, not an S. It's not crisps, although some of you may now be hungry because I mentioned them. But anyways, let's get back to the presentation. CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. But trust me, it sounds much more complicated than it actually is. CRISPR contains an enzyme inside it, called Cas9, and Cas9 acts as a pair of molecular scissors which can make a cut across both strands of the DNA, allowing parts of DNA to then be added or removed. Then there's the guide RNA, which has been pre-designed to find and bind to a specific location to the DNA. Now the Cas9 follows the guide RNA like Tom follows Jerry, and then the Cas9 gets to work making the cut across both strands of the DNA. Once we reach this stage, the cell recognizes that the DNA is damaged and it tries to repair it. Again, it is that easy. I mean, as I told you before, the human species is the most intelligent in the world. And we are intelligent. But we can also be reckless and impulsive. Josiah Sainer. Many of you may know him, but if you don't, he is a biohacker who had the brilliant idea to genetically modify himself. And yes, you heard me correctly. He experimented with CRISPR-Cas9 on himself while speaking live at an event. Now, this happened in 2017 at a biotech conference in San Francisco. And right there and then, he was the first ever known human being to experiment with CRISPR-Cas9 on another human being. But he wasn't the only one. He Jiankui is a biophysicist that carried out an experiment in 2018 with the embryos of 2 twin girls which were already infected with a deadly disease. Now, he attempted to cure them of HIV before they were even born. And by November of that same year, the 2 twin girls, Lulu and Nana, were born. Now, don't get impatient. I know what you're all thinking. Well, you've talked to us about 2 different experiments with CRISPR-Cas9. Now tell us the results. And I will. But first of all, for all the Marvel fans, no. Josiah Sainer did not become like Captain America when he injected himself with CRISPR-Cas9. Although it would have been pretty cool, right? And well, as for the twin girls, it turns out that they were not actually cured of HIV. So unfortunately, both experiments ended up failing, but in more than one way. Firstly, scientifically, since no good results were obtained from these experiments. But secondly, socially. You cannot imagine how much controversy was caused by these experiments. In fact, I'm sure that if we were to debate the ethics of genetic modification in this exact room, most people would be against it and would think that it should not be legal. But let me tell you something. Your opinion has no value whatsoever. Now, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but this, unfortunately, is the truth. It doesn't matter what we think of genetic modification right now, because in the future, it will be legalized. And most importantly, it will become the norm. So you might want to start thinking about the color you want for your children's hair, eyes, or skin color. Because in the future, you might be able to choose. It is all just a matter of time. As the biologist Robert Schleimer once said, we will surely come to the time when man will have the power to alter specifically and consciously his very genes. Now, this quote was said in 1966 as a prediction, and right now, in the 21st century, it is a reality. We cannot wait for someone else to do this for us. Our generation has the power to alter human nature, and by using it, we will change the world. Thank you.